What's up, Wellspring parents? It is Bruce. I'm so excited to be with you for the week 2 of our parenting tips, all focused in on rest and how we can step into who God calls us to be in each moment of every day, especially towards parenting, when we are healthy and have found rest in God. So this week we are continuing in the idea of making rhythms for rest. And I want to go a little old school with you. I want you to think back to the Rocky movies, the famous boxing movies with Rocky Balboa. In it, he usually faces something crazy or he loses, and it starts off this montage of him working out, getting in even better shape than he was, and getting into this boxing shape for the very last match, the very end of the movie. In it, you see that he's making rhythms and being intentional because he's got a goal in front of him. And so for each of you, I know that the goal to be a great parent and to step into who God has you to be as a parent, what he's calling you to be as a parent, is something that is constantly on your mind. And so I think with that goal in front of us, one of the things that we need to be doing is making the rhythm to rest. And so I want to give you just a quick couple tips and what we're going to be doing over the next 3 weeks. We're going to be looking at yearly rhythms, weekly rhythms, and daily rhythms. Today, we're going to be looking at daily rhythms for rest, all focused in on that you have to make the time in your day to spend time with Jesus and find true spiritual rest in Him. That's something that we are each called to do as believers, but especially as parents, you have to be in this healthy spot and knowing that your identity and who you are and what you are called to do rests in Jesus, not in you. It doesn't depend on your successes or your failures as a parent. It is all about resting in the goodness of Jesus. And so I want to give you 3 great tips on how you can get started in intentionally making times for you to find rest spiritually. The very first one is to give God your first fruits. This is an Old Testament idea, and maybe we don't go around saying, I'm going to give my first fruits to somebody. But it was this idea that around harvest times, the first fruits were this idea that it was the best fruit that you had. So in your daily life, when is the best time for you to give to Jesus? I'm not talking about just squeezing him in the 5 minutes, or when you're sitting and just don't have a lot to do within those like 30-second, 1 minute, or 2 minutes. I'm saying, what is the best time for you to be able to reflect back on Jesus, to dive into his word, or to read a devotional? When is those times that is best for you? For some of you, it might be early morning, and for others of you, it might be late at night, or it might even be midday. When is the best time for you to spend with Jesus, to get alone, to focus your heart in on what he has for you that day, to be able to truthfully rest and be your best while you're resting? And so that's my first encouragement. Give your first fruits to God. Whenever that's going to be, the very best time, and carve out, even if it is 5 minutes, or if you're already doing it, then I encourage you to do it a little bit more. Try to push yourself to go longer and longer and spend good chunks of time with God, because that's where you're going to find true spiritual rest, and you're going to be able to step into being who God has called you as a parent. Secondly, is that I just want to encourage you, the main thing that matters is starting. There's a ton of different devotional guides. There's a ton of different ways you can go about spending time with God. And for what I do with spending with God versus what you do with spending with God versus what your friends are going to do with spending with God, or your husband or your wife, it's all going to look a little different. Victoria and I's time with God looks a little different. She's going through a plan. I'm going through books of the Bible. And so I encourage you, wherever that is, the important thing is that you just need to start. Don't beat yourself up for whatever it is or how long you're giving. You just need to start making the time. So if it is 5 minutes, if it is even 2 or 3 minutes, give God your best, and then make sure you start to create that rhythm in your life. Thirdly, and lastly, for creating a daily rhythm, is to bring him your heart. And what I mean by that is that you want to be intentional. You want to focus in on this relationship with God. If you were distant with a friend, what would you do to get close with them? You would start spending time with them, and you would be intentional with that time. And so I want to encourage you this week to give God your first fruits, to just start, and then when you're with him, be present with him. Don't think about everything that's going on. Think about spending time with God, and of course He's going to weave in everything you got your mind worried on or the things that's stressing you out. But make sure that you're intentional in saying, God, for these next 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to give you all of me. I'm going to focus in on you, and I want you to speak to me. Build a relationship with Him. And when you do those 3 things, you are going to start finding rest in Jesus, and you're going to build those daily rhythms of spending time with God. And that's going to allow you to be the parent that God's called you to be, and to step into some amazing things as parenting, because you know that not everything is going to rest on you, not everything is weighed down by you, but it is Jesus in you. And so that is my encouragement for you today in finding rest. We will see you next week.